What if the person comforting you at your wife's funeral was actually her killer? What if the grieving father who fled the country to protect his children was running from the most unforgivable crime imaginable? This is the story that will shatter everything you think you know about family, trust, and the perfect lie that lasted 19 years. I'm about to tell you about Doris Worrell and the teenage nanny who held the key to justice. Meet Doris Worrell, the woman who had everything to live for, and everything stolen from her by the person she trusted most. This wasn't just any murder victim. This was a former teacher, an interior designer, a devoted mother of 3 young children who gave up her career to raise her family. Picture this: Douglas, Georgia, 2006. Doris and her husband John owned John's Sports Park. Not just any business, but a massive family entertainment complex with go-karts, mini-golf, skating rinks, batting cages, arcades. This was their American dream made real, their life's work, their children's inheritance. September 20th, 2006, 11:17 a.m. Doris Worrell, 39 years old at the time, was found shot and killed inside their local business. Her husband John made the 911 call after discovering her body. The initial story: robbery gone wrong, random violence, a grieving widower and 3 traumatized children. But what if I told you that everything about that story was a lie designed by the most manipulative killer you've ever heard of? Here's where this story becomes absolutely disgusting. While Doris was working alongside John at their business, trusting him with her life and their children's future, John Worrell was living a secret life that would make your skin crawl. Investigators at the time were aware of marital issues between Doris and John, which included John's relationship with their live-in nanny, Paula Yarberry, who was then 18. Let me repeat that. 18 years old. This wasn't just an affair. This was a predatory relationship with a vulnerable Venezuelan immigrant who was living in their home, caring for their children. But here's what makes this even more twisted. According to police, John Worrell was worried he would lose custody of his children if he and Doris got a divorce. So instead of being a decent human being, instead of trying to work things out or going through a normal divorce, investigators believe John chose the most evil solution possible. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, John wasn't looking for a marriage counselor or a divorce lawyer. He was looking for someone to kill Doris. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was cold, calculated, premeditated murder by the person who was supposed to protect her. If this level of betrayal is making your blood boil, absolutely demolish that like button right now. And if you want to see more cases where families aren't what they seem, smash that subscribe button, because this story is about to get so much worse. Initially, John's diabolical plan seemed to be working perfectly. Many initially believed that John was a grieving husband and his wife a victim of a robbery gone wrong. The entire community rallied around this devastated father. People brought casseroles, offered to babysit, probably even donated money to help him through his tragedy. But here's the thing about using other people to do your dirty work. Eventually, someone talks. 2 employees at the sports park were initially arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder. But there wasn't enough evidence to convict them. The charges were dropped. One of them has since died, taking any potential testimony to the grave. And what did our grieving husband do when the heat started turning toward him? John Worrell left the country to live with his former live-in nanny after his wife's death. Think about that for a second. While Doris was 6 feet under, John was living his best life in paradise with the teenager who allegedly helped him get away with murder. But here's what John didn't realize. His biggest accomplice would eventually become his worst nightmare. Paula Yarberry carried this secret for 19 years. Imagine being 18 years old, in a foreign country, entangled in a murder plot, with a man old enough to be your father. Investigators got a big break when investigators traveled to Costa Rica and found the nanny willing to talk after her relationship with John Worrell had ended. What finally broke her silence? Her relationship with John ended, and suddenly she was willing to cooperate. Think about the psychological manipulation. This girl endured. She helped raise Doris's children for years, knowing how their mother really died. She lived with the killer, kept his darkest secret, probably feared for her own life. But when love turned to hate, loyalty turned to justice. Her testimony was apparently so damning, so detailed, so devastating that it gave prosecutors everything. They needed to finally build a case against John Worrell. I know you haven't been able to know us, but we want you to know we love you. These were the words from Doris's family, a message to the grandchildren they'd been separated from for nearly 2 decades while living with their mother's alleged killer. May 2025. After nearly 2 decades of freedom, after building a new life, after probably thinking he'd gotten away with the perfect crime, karma finally caught up with John Worrell. The GBI said 58-year-old John Worrell is charged with malice, murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the 2006 shooting death of his wife, Doris Worrell. This man, who convinced an entire community he was a victim, who fled the country with his children and his teenage mistress, who lived freely while his wife rotted in the ground, finally got what was coming to him. But think about those 3 children. They were babies when they lost their mother to what they believed was random violence. They grew up in a foreign country, raised by their father, and the woman who investigators believe helped cover up their mother's murder. It's here. We fought the fight, and we didn't give up, said Doris Worrell's older sister, Leanne Tuggle. This is the day we've been waiting on for almost 20 years. Imagine discovering that your entire childhood was built on the ultimate lie, that the parent who raised you killed the parent you mourned, that every birthday, every Christmas, every family photo was staged by a murderer. This case exposes the most terrifying truth about family. Sometimes the people closest to you are the most dangerous. John Worrell didn't just kill his wife. He stole 19 years from her family, traumatized his own children, and manipulated a teenager into keeping his deadly secret. But here's what I need to know from you. Was Paula another victim, or was she an accomplice who stayed silent too long? Should we judge her for keeping quiet or praise her for finally finding the courage to speak? And what about those children? How do you rebuild your life when everything you believed was a lie? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Team Paula or Team Justice Delayed? If you think John Worrell deserves to rot in prison, for what he did to Doris and those kids, obliterate that like button. And if you're ready for more family secrets that will shock you to your core, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because I expose the truth that families don't want you to. No, the perfect family photo might be hiding the perfect crime, and I'm here to expose them all.